For a time, we tried to contact him by radio, but no response.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 9 of the Dumb Marks Podcast. This is a special Halloween edition of the Dumb Marks Podcast, and due to it being Halloween, we decided to bring back our two favorite Dumb Marks. You heard them last week on the show, Donald and Jason. How you guys doing today?
Good. How are you, Steve?
All right. It's been better. Jason, you good?
I'm good.
All right.
Well,
short and sweet to the point. So my not to dive into the weeds right off the bat, but my Halloween morning has not started off too good here. I was supposed to go to my niece's soccer game, woke up and drove to the soccer field only to realize that she was not playing a home game. She was playing somewhere that was about 30 minutes away. So that got kiboshed from the start. Oh. And then my windshield, which had a chip in it, because it was 30 degrees in Pittsburgh this morning and I had the defroster on, decided to split across the entire windshield. So I spent the morning getting in touch with Safe Light Auto to schedule an appointment to get a new windshield replaced. So my morning is starting off costing me money. That's how I'm doing.
Spent that gas money to go to the field and then...
Yeah, now my niece is disappointed because I'm not at her game.
Sure.
You know, it's costing me $300-400 for a new windshield. Oh, and while I'm doing that and everything else, what pops up on the phone? Sean Connery passes away.
Horrible.
Fuck 2020.
I mean, he was 90, so, I mean, he seems like he probably led a good life, but, you know, I mean, he's James Bond. You know, can't take him away.
Can we please put, like, all the security and the best doctors and everybody else, can we surround Betty White to get through the end of 2020? Really? Like,
she better make it through.
I mean, after everybody that we've lost this year, like, I think, like, just 2020 was such a kick in the nuts anyways, but, I mean, you add the loss of Betty White onto that, like...
No one's going to want to go into 2021 if that happens.
Like I said last week, at 13/1/2020, like I'm really hoping that the calendar actually flips over to January 1, 2021.
Like we talked about the Bond movies a couple weeks ago, you know, with the delay of the new one, but you know, without Sean Connery, you know, if his movies wouldn't have been good, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about Bond movies today. You know, like we might be talking about it, you know, like it's nothing, or people might not even talk about it at all. But because his were so successful, and he was the epitome of James Bond. You know, that's who everybody thinks of, you know, whenever you talk about James Bond anymore.
Yep.
That sucks.
Yep. So, anybody got anything else from their week that they want to get into here in the intro before we kind of give you a rundown for this special edition Halloween episode of the pod?
All right, we're going to be doing some Halloween trivia to kick things off today. After that, we'll get into Bell to Bell segment. On Drink of the Week, we're going to be trying out Whole Hogs JP's Casper White Stout. So if you've never had a white stout before, tune in for that. And then we'll do our bottom 5 worst Halloween candies.
Yep, everybody got their power rankings and top 5s and most acclaimed. Not on the Dumb Marks podcast. Here you're getting the toilet bowl bottom worst of the worst. So
and then after that we'll do This Week in Sports, and then we'll enjoy some Halloween candy, I think.
Yes, sir. All right, well, with that, folks, grab your... Halloween costumes, put them on, get ready for trick-or-treating, and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Welcome to the first edition of the Dumb Marks Podcast Trivia Game. Today we're going to do Halloween trivia. We got a couple rounds. First round will be 1 point each. Second round will be 5 points each question, and then the third round will be 10 points for each correct question. Your players today are Jason, Donald, and Steve. I'm Chris, and I'll be asking the questions today. Any questions on the game? We want to get right into it?
No,
let's go.
We're good.
All right. So the first question is going to be Price is Right rules. You guys don't have to buzz in for this one, so we'll just do everybody answer, and the one that's closest without going over wins the points for that. How many pounds of candy corn are produced each year? Jason?
I don't even have a guess. I'm bad with that. 1 million. I don't.
Million? Okay.
We'll say 250,000 pounds.
Okay.
Put some thought into that.
I'm gonna go $1,001,001.
And it's probably good that you did that because the pounds is a whopping 35 million pounds. So Jason gets some points just for going $1 over.
Steve, not Jason. Sorry, dumb Mark.
Makes 2, don't worry.
We got 4 total.
Hey, Trebek is safe with his job.
Every Halloween, Charlie Brown helps his friend Linus wait for what character to appear. You gotta buzz in. Donald?
The Great Pumpkin.
Yes, sir.
Fucking Apple TV.
What is the most popular Halloween candy in America? Steve?
Reese Cup.
No. Anybody else want to try?
Candy corn.
No.
Really?
Want to try? Donald?
Snickers.
No. Correct answer is Skittles.
What?
This next question has 2 answers, but I'll accept either one of them. What were the first ever fun-size candy bars? Steve?
Milky Way.
Snickers or Milky Way?
I was going to say Snickers.
And final question in round 1. What sort of mask does Michael Myers wear in the original Halloween movie? Donald?
William Shatner.
Correct.
I was just gonna say Halloween.
So the budget was so cheap on it, they found a $2 William Shatner mask that they just spray painted white.
No idea that was William Shatner's.
Now you can never unsee it though. It's
No,
one of those
you can't.
things. Once you know, that you'll always see William Shatner's face on it. All right, going into the second round, Dawn and Steve are tied for 2 points each. Going second round, 5 points for each question. Where is the world's longest haunted house?
Virginia.
No. Anyone else want to take a guess?
No, I got no
No,
clue.
nothing.
Lewisburg, Ohio.
So we'll be there soon, right?
It's a whopping 3,564 feet long and located 80 feet underground.
No, never mind.
Negative.
Really?
Negative.
Next year.
I actually am surprised you didn't know
Next
that.
year. No, I didn't know that.
Is
Nothing good comes out of Ohio.
Is a pumpkin a fruit or a vegetable? Donald?
A fruit.
Correct. Okay, so this next question is going to be just like what we did, Price is Right rules. There have been 4 schools that have documented their scientific studies according to Tootsie Roll Industries. According to Purdue University, how many licks does it take, on average, to reach the center of a Tootsie Pop? Jason.
15.
Okay.
35.
Okay.
69.
Steve wins, being closest, but the Purdue University actually had students lick the Tootsie Pops. 252.
Wow.
What if you can do it in one?
Hey, no wonder. No wonder why college courses cost $1,200 per credit.
This is what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that's the end of round 2. Again, Steve and Donald are tied, 7 points apiece. Each question after this is
Jason's sitting on that Homer Simpson donut over there.
I got one. Wait for the comeback. Oh, I don't have any?
Nothing yet. What is the most commercially successful horror movie of all time?
Psycho.
No.
Halloween.
No. See?
Friday the 13th.
Nope. It.
What?
Oh, they're counting these remakes.
Which the new one?
Yeah, they're counting this.
Maybe. I don't have.
Okay.
What horror movie was the first American film to ever show a toilet on screen?
Psycho.
Yes.
I'm in here.
This dude just pulled into the lead
Yeah.
with one question.
For the comeback. I'm swinging for the fences.
What item is banned in California on Halloween?
Knives.
No.
Plastic knives.
Toy guns.
No. So you want to guess?
I would say weed, but that's legal in California.
It is.
Fake blood.
No. Silly string. I think it was like 2007 they banned that.
Banned for the environment.
Probably.
Are we up to Final Jeopardy yet, or are we just running through questions?
We'll just run through some questions.
All right.
What was the original Halloween's movie's working title?
October 31st.
No guesses? The Babysitter Murders. All right, we'll do Final Jeopardy on this one. What famous magician died on Halloween? Jason.
Houdini.
Correct.
That's not how Final Jeopardy works. Everybody writes down their answer and then you wager your points. You stupid marks. This dude wins.
They answer 2 questions.
Yeah, he answers 2 questions and wins. This game show is bullshit.
Put the strap on who?
All right, at the end of that, Jason comes the lead with 20 points, and Dawn and Steve had 7 each. Anybody learn anything?
No.
I think we got all the answers already.
All right, we'll continue on with more Halloween with our bottom 5 worst Halloween candy of all time a little bit later on. All right, welcome to this week's edition of Bell to Bell. We had a real busy week in wrestling, starting out with Impact Wrestling Bound for Glory. We also had WWE Hell in a Cell on Sunday, and then NXT had Halloween Havoc this week. So might as well start at the beginning. Did anybody watch Bound for Glory or follow anything about Bound for Glory?
I followed for Bound for Glory. I did not get a chance to watch it yet. I might not go back and watch it because I did watch Impact on Tuesday, so I got the rundown.
Okay.
Besides what I read. So overall, a lot of people, the takes were that it was not a good pay-per-view. One of the least favorite pay-per-views that Impact has put on this year, which is kind of sad given the fact that it was their WrestleMania, their top pay-per-view of the year. So not critically acclaimed around the board there. Match-wise, they did say the main event, which I was not expecting, was very well received between Rich Swann and EY. I had no interest in that. If you listen to the prediction show that me and Chris did for Bound for Glory, that we just can't see Rich Swann as being a top guy in a company. They put the belt on him. It is what it is. We'll see where they go from here. Impact this week, they kind of ran down a list of people that were going to challenge him or step up to him, running down the list. So we'll see where they go with that. But not a well-received card for the most part.
I'm actually the opposite of you for that. I didn't watch Impact this week, but I watched Bound for Glory. It wasn't a very good show. I didn't really care for it at all. There was a lot of issues, like that for them to claim that this is their WrestleMania. I think they need to stop doing that. Back in the day, whenever TNA was actually had decent, like a really good roster that you would pay the money to watch, like whenever Kurt Angle and some of those guys were around, I could see Bound for Glory being their WrestleMania. Now I kind of feel like Slammiversary is kind of like their pay-per-view every year. That one gets the better treatment.
Yeah.
They get better matches. It's usually more receptive. I kind of feel like they need to make that, or maybe even do something else. But Bound for Glory just doesn't do it for me anymore. I think after a couple years ago, they went to Japan for one of them, and I kind of felt like that was the beginning of the end for Bound for Glory. But tons of audio issues. During the first match, Josh was actually talking a few times when he wasn't supposed to. Like, he was talking to, like, production staff or other people, and just, like...
He pulled a Vampiro?
Yeah. Like, he ended something, and then he goes, okay, we need to fix my mic, and it's just like, you should be muted right now. And, like, some other... Like, there was a couple other instances like that.
So it was basically Impact pulling a TNA.
Yeah. And this is...
Because they've done a good job of getting rid of that TNA stigma.
So you think that?
I have. I really have. I think with the roster they have assembled, I think with the storylines that they've done since Callis and D'Amore have taken over, and the people that they've pushed, given the roster that they work with at times, and you got to remember they're hamstrung in the fact that when they shoot TV, they shoot 8 episodes, so they're shooting 2 months worth of television at once. Right?
Yeah.
So, given injuries and everything else, like you have to go back in and make changes on the fly to stuff. And they've done a really good job. I mean, this has been the most that I've watched Impact consecutively in years. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's by no means up there with AEW or WWE. But, I mean, if you're tired of mainstream wrestling, and I'll throw those two in as mainstream because they're on, platforms that make them mainstream as far as being on USA, Fox, and TNT. If you want more of that indie feel of wrestling, like Impact is a very good alternative that has some names that has some names you may not know, but that once you watch them in the ring will get you interested in them more. I think they've done a good job with getting rid of that TNA stigma.
I think me and you have had this conversation before, but I actually think that the stigma wasn't on TNA. I think the stigma was on Impact. And they got rid of the TNA name just because they thought the stigma was on TNA. Because I'd venture that the best part of Impact TNA was up to 2010. And once Bischoff came in, that started the downfall. I'm not putting the blame on them, but that started the downfall of the era of TNA. And that's when they changed really the name. All you saw was Impact Wrestling. They didn't. Yeah, the titles were TNA, but they didn't really reference TNA as much. So from 2010 on, it's really been Impact, and I kind of feel like the bad years have been more Impact than TNA.
So take the name out of it. If you're going off of your timeline, right? Take the TNA Impact. Take the name off of it. To me, D'Amore and Callis have done a good job of elevating the brand to a point where it is a watchable product. It may not be the best product out there, but it is a watchable alternative product if you're sick of WWE.
Yeah,
or even AEW. Like, you may have grown tired of them after a year in, depending on how you view what they're doing, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I mean, you have options now, and Impact is one of those options that you can consider to watch on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I've tried to watch it semi-regularly since Slammiversary this year, and right now I'm a little tired of it, and especially coming off of Bound for Glory, I think I'm going to take a pause again. But I did that before with Impact and TNA too, where I'd take breaks and then get back into it occasionally. The thing that I really did like about Bound for Glory is I thought the X Division match was really good. So I think that division's still strong in Impact. And then I think the tag division is strong in Impact. I think those two things are probably the best things going right now. The North won the tag titles again. I know neither one of us thought that was going to happen when we did our predictions. I don't know if you know who the North is, but they're kind of like the Revival down there.
Yeah, Ethan Page and Jason Alexander.
I'm a big fan of Ethan Page. I think he has talent. I think he has good charisma. I think he could be a solo star at some point, but
Alexander is in the mold of a Kurt Angle.
Yeah,
as far as like that wrestling machine character that he did in TNA, where it's just no nonsense and just, I mean, that the pile driver he did to Alex Shelley on the ramp was just nasty, like absolutely nasty. So like it's one of those where like I was like, ooh, I think he really hurt his neck doing it. Like it was pulled off that well. So kudos to them. I think the big thing from Impact this week that's going forward is the wedding that they had. So wrestling weddings never go off well, right? This week on Impact, they had Rosemary and Johnny Bravo getting married, and Father James Mitchell came out to do the nuptials and preside over the ceremony, and it actually made it all the way through till the very end, where he goes, and you may now kiss your bride. And they leaned in for the kiss. The lights went out. You heard a bang. Lights pop back on. Johnny Bravo is laying in the middle of the ring, shot. Tommy Dreamer climbs in the ring like, who shot Bravo? No! So they pulled the old Dallas TV angle and going to apply it. Let's see where it goes. I mean, it's so over the top that it's like, maybe all right, I'll watch it because it's so over the top. Like you've created interest for me to tune in to see. All right, where does this go?
Yeah, I watched it online after it happened. I watched the segment. The leading up to the wedding, I really wasn't interested in it, so I'll let you watch it and fill me in on what goes on with it. I think the other big news out of Impact this week, other than that, was that the women's tag team titles are going to return. It's going to be crowned at their next pay-per-view, which is going to be January 16th, Hard to Kill. When they first brought the tag championships in, I was okay with that, years ago, because I felt like TNA had the strongest women's division in wrestling. After a while, they proved why they shouldn't have had them. Then they got rid of them, and then even whenever WWE brought them in a couple years ago, I was just like, you saw what TNA did with it, why are you going to try this? What's everybody think about them bringing back the women's tag titles?
So Tuesday they did a good job of kind of establishing some of the teams that will vie for those Knockouts tag team championships. I think they have a roster to make it work with who all they have now. Some of the teams are definite no-brainers just based off of the characters and who they align with on the show. So you could already see who's going to be paired up with who if they're not already kind of a duo in storylines already. So, my favorites going into this will probably be Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. They've been together on a show. Tasha Steelz, if you don't know, she was in Ring of Honor for a little bit. Bully Ray went to Ring of Honor. You need to sign her ASAP. She is that charismatic of an individual and is probably going to be a star sooner rather than later. And Kiera Hogan has really stepped up her game over the last year. I didn't think much of her whenever I first started watching Impact again, but she's really turned things up and she's really transformed herself into being a legitimate professional wrestler. And those two would be the two that I would kind of bank on moving forward with this Knockouts tag team tournament. Donald?
As long as the women's division is strong, I don't mind the women's tag titles, knockout tag titles, and I don't watch it that much like I used to anymore. So we'll see where it goes. I remember when their women's division was on top and everything was flowing for them great. So I'll give it a shot.
No.
I tend to tune in more now for women's wrestling, so I'm glad to see it back. I'll probably tune in to see what they have to offer.
Okay.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up Impact and coverage for Bound for Glory and the show Tuesday night. We'll move forward here and get into WWE for the week, which will encompass Hell in a Cell, Raw, and SmackDown. I did tune in for Hell in a Cell. The only two things that I really want to talk about from the pay-per-view itself are Bayley and Sasha and Roman and Jay. Bayley and Sasha did what I thought they were going to do, was go out there and have, match of the night-esque match. Some of the spots I could have done without, but, there were really good spots in there and different. They used the cell differently than what has been seen before, and that's the issue with Hell in a Cell matches now. You can only do so much inside of the cell, and you've done the pay-per-view for so long. There's been so many matches that it's hard to come up with stuff that's original and makes you go, oh shit, they really used the cell how they should, and that looked devastating. And
having 3 matches on the same card.
3 matches on the same card. So each one of those 3 matches has to be different and has to do different stuff, because then they just all look like the same match inside the cell. So kudos to them for coming up with original spots. That freaking Meteora that she hit running up off the table into Bayley into the cell itself looked absolutely devastating. The chair spot was a callback to what they've done, as far as making her tap. Couple ladder spots in there, but they hit a good match. We'll see what this leads to going forward. I wasn't expecting Sasha to win here. Again, I'm jaded in this perspective that I really wanted this to be a slow burn and lead into them too at Mania, but it is what it is. Hopefully Sasha can actually defend the strap. You saw that on SmackDown last night, Bayley calling her out, saying you can win championships, but you can't defend them. And they have their rematch next week, so we'll see what goes on from there. And then
what do you guys think? You think that she's going to be able to defend it? She hasn't defended the title yet, so
yeah, she hasn't defended it, but this time around she has to, because I think they're building up too much with her and Asuka at Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
I'd take it off her and put it back on Bayley. Just to give Sasha that Mania moment.
Okay.
Build that up again.
But then you do the same thing. You have her win it and then lose it right away after Mania? Or?
No, this time she keeps it. This time
Okay, so Mania's
she holds
in.
on to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. And then, like I said, the other match that I'm only concerned about was Roman and Jay. Absolutely storytelling at its finest. I know, Chris, you're in disagreement with this. He's not into this. He hasn't really been into this feud as much as I have. Donald, Jason, I don't know where you guys sit with this.
I love it. There's times like it just seems like it's an extra couple minutes too long, but it's still great storytelling.
It is a good story. It is. I know I was shitting on Jey Uso last week for sure, but this was a good match. I love the storytelling. This is like a slow burn here, what they're doing with it. So interested to see definitely where it's going.
They're giving you everything that you want out of it. Both guys are hitting it out of the park.
Yes.
From every standpoint. You know, I said on the prediction show that, you know, maybe you'd like to see like Rikishi get involved and be the one to say I quit on behalf of Jay, because his pride was going to get in the way to where he was just going to take an ass whooping to the point where he would not say it, and they were worried about his safety, and they did that, but they had Jimmy get involved and do it, and you know, just added that another layer to the story, and have, you know, Roman break down questioning who he is, and then all of a sudden snaps and puts the guillotine on Jay or on Jimmy, and you know that, like Jay said last night, you knew that was the only person that I would say I quit for. So you knew what you were doing when you did that. Like, it's continuing to add level upon level. And then the cherry on top of the sundae was having the Wild Samoans at the top of the ring, at the top of the ramp, you know, with Alpha and Sika, and him getting the hugs and putting the laid on. It's like crowning, like, hey, you are the head of the family. I will say this. So you take that moment from last night, or from Sunday night, right? Alpha putting the lay on his son, saying he's the high chief. Roman last night in the ring on SmackDown cutting his promo, saying, you saw the highest of high chiefs, your uncle, my father, anoint me as being the head of the family. This is me foreshadowing, but going back to what I've been saying, that is going to lead into The Rock and Roman at Mania, because The Rock can come out and go, hey, I'm the descendant of the highest of high chiefs in Chief Peter Maivia. Like, he was the originator of the family. You know, no offense to your father and that, but my grandfather was the head of the table. So you don't go running around claiming that you're the head of the table if you haven't beaten me yet. And if Rock does come back, I know you said he's retired and not wrestling anymore, right? But if he does come back, Bully Ray said this on Busted Open, and I agree with him. Don't give me the ha-ha funny one-liner zinger rocks. You know, don't give me the, if you smell what you're cooking, turn my foot sideways, take you to the SmackDown Hotel rock. No, give me the serious, you're not the highest of high chiefs. You're not the head of the table until you beat me. No. You give me that rock with this Roman, and I'm all in on that as a main event for Mania.
That will be Mania gold.
I mean, what you're putting out there makes sense.
Just doesn't interest you, huh?
Yeah. No,
it's WWE.
It's not even that. I actually would be interested in it. The whole storyline I've enjoyed. Like, everything on SmackDown leading up to everything, leading up to Clash, leading up to Hell in a Cell, I've enjoyed, even the stuff last night. It's the matches that I have the problem with. Like, I felt like Hell in a Cell match was exactly a redo of Clash of the Champions. It's just in a Hell in a Cell this time. And just, it's too much talking. I think that's what bothers me with it. It's just...
There's a little bit of too much of that. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. It's like once they do the talking, it just slows down the match, and it's like by a certain point when they just keep talking, it's like, okay, I don't even care anymore. Like, I lose the interest in the match.
See, that's where we disagree, because to me, I think the talking is warranted in this storyline. I don't think you would get the depth of the storytelling if you took out the talking, whether it's promos, whether it's in-match. To me, that builds onto it, because it's a personal family feud. It's real. Like, if me and my brothers are fighting, and it's the same thing, right? If me and my brothers are fighting, like, there's gonna be talking back and forth, like, you know what I mean? Like, why are you making me do this? Like, like the stuff that they're saying during the matches is stuff that if you fought your brother in real life, you would be saying. Like, I love you, but you're pushing me to this limit. Like, why are you doing this? You know what I mean? Like,
I guess because it's a lot of the time it's the same thing being said over and over again, like that. Why are you making me do this? I love you. It's just like it's constant. It's regurgitated over and over again. I think that's, and I'm not saying it's bad, but
to counteract that point, though, I think the constant reiteration led to last night when the light bulb went off for Jay and go, okay, I get it now. I understand. I will fall in line. I will follow you as the tribal chief and the head of the family. Like, Roman kept hammering that point home with the words that he was saying, and he was constantly repeating himself because Jay wasn't getting the message. Last night you saw Jay get the message. So I think going forward, are there going to be moments where something's going to need to be said? Yeah, but I think going forward, like, you'll see less of the talking and more of the action that you're looking for because the light bulb went off for Jay and he gets it now.
I really, after last night, I really think, and what my prediction was the other day, that, you know, Jay fell in line, and, you know, Jimmy's going to come back and just be in line too. I really see this is going to be like the bloodline return and maybe like more like mafia style, because I was thinking about it last night, like, you know, okay, Roman's, you know, the boss. Paul's the consigliere or the underboss, depending on where you classify him, and then the Usos are going to be the capos in the family, and they're going to do the work. And, you know, I started thinking, I was like, this is what I would like to see. Like, I want to see that because I didn't like the bloodline the first time when they were around, and I think this time it's going to be a whole lot better, if they use the name or not, you know, to be determined. But, you know, I kind of would like to see, you know, Roman needs a different look. And if they would kind of go that mafia look, maybe like wearing the suits or something, could be interested.
You got his different look with him in the ring without the shirt. Shield gear. He has the shirt off.
But still wearing the pants and the boots. You know, yeah. And then this week he wore the Thanos gauntlet. Yeah. You know, and I kind of
that evolution. That evolution is going to come as far as that, as well as the theme music.
Yeah, like, it's a slow build,
right? And Roman said that on Graves' podcast. He goes, you know, there's so many things behind the scenes that go into changing theme music, ring gear, and everything else. I just didn't want to hit you with everything at once. Yeah. I wanted to build slowly to that, so over time you see the complete transformation of this character, and I'm not just punching you in the face with it. Yeah. So you grow with it as long as the character's growing and showing different sides.
So what did we talk about last week? You know, I think Cole finally stopped addressing him as the big dog, but then
it's about time.
But WWE social media references him as the big dog.
Yeah, they tweeted out right after the big dog. It's like, yo, like you just can't even get on the same page.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like I don't think there's the right communication in that company. Yeah, you know, it's just like they all need to be on the same page, and same with the graphics. You know, I think that should have been the first thing that changed. There's no more big dog graphics.
Well, it wasn't on there last night, but they also didn't have Tribal Chief up last night. They just left that off.
Put it on.
Yeah, but no, I get what you're saying. So, anything from you guys as far as Dawn and Jason, as far as like the Hell in a Cell and tying the SmackDown, since we talked about Sasha and Bayley and Roman and Jay so far?
I want to see where this goes. Like Roman, like since like last night, where he took out Daniel Bryan. Does that start a feud with Bryan, or is it just going to be Roman taking out the roster? I would like to see a feud with Bryan.
Yeah, it's a good point.
To go.
They had a good match before.
Yeah, but I do want to see a point where it's like, let's talk, and all you need is like a head nod for Roman, and you can stick the Usos on somebody.
I think you got that last night, even though like when he first started the beat down of Bryan, like Roman stopped and was like, you know, make him understand.
Yeah.
I think after that, as Jay continued to beat down, and he even did it after the show and off the air, which they put online as a WWE.com exclusive. But you saw Roman just standing there and like looking at Jay, and then Jay would get up and start attacking again. So I think you'll get more like what you were saying with either a look or a head nod or a wink, something that'll just go, okay, you know, shit's on now. Like, here comes trouble. You know what I mean? So
I actually fell asleep on SmackDown, so
still, what a dumb mark. Flip over to Hell in a Cell and tie that into Raw for Monday night. I could care less what happened at Hell in a Cell from the Raw side of things. I've been saying that. Raw has me not interested at all. Randy does pick up the win there, so, interesting to see. As I said before and on the prediction show and with us four talking, they're going with The Fiend and Randy. They started that up on Monday night. Nice callbacks to the house burning in the picture frame behind Bray in the fun house. And then also the object that Bray beat Ramblin' Rabbit with. If you look, I forget who tweeted it out afterwards, but that same object and sign were used in the feud previously. There's a shot of Roman and Harper holding Randy Orton, and that symbol is in front of Randy. So nice callback there with stuff going along with, the Fiend never forgets his, the past discretions done against him.
Mm-hmm.
Adding Alexa Bliss to the Funhouse and her role so far has been what I've expected it to be. So right now they're 1 for 1 without not screwing that up. We'll see if that continues. This is just going to lead into, and I'll say it again, like I said it before, but this is going to be, you're going to have Randy and Edge at Mania for the belt. So book it now, pencil it in. Actually, don't pencil it in, Sharpie it in because it's going to happen. Yeah. You don't need to erase that one. Whether or not Edge comes back and wins the Rumble or he's the last Raw superstar in the Rumble and they kind of build to the title match that way and let the winner from SmackDown face Roman. But yeah, I'm gonna pencil that in now.
So how do you get the Fiend out of this feud?
So that's the interesting thing here. I don't know. I don't know how you pull that off. The Fiend's one of those characters to where if he loses a feud, he doesn't come out weaker.
Yeah.
I think he's not Undertaker-esque because he's not the Undertaker, but you know what I mean? Like that
on
type
that level.
that type of character to where he can have a championship feud. Like the Undertaker would lose a buried alive match to Stone Cold, but that doesn't mean that the Undertaker was buried.
Yeah.
No.
And I think the Fiend is kind of the same way. So we're not getting it at Survivor Series because you have the champions versus champions. What's left before Rumble? TLC. So maybe you do something at TLC and not have a legitimate finish.
Mm-hmm. And then you go to Rumble.
And then you go to Rumble, and it can be where he beats the Fiend at Rumble, and then that's how you get, Edge coming back. There's some ways that they can do it creatively, I think, to get out of it.
if they fight at TLC, they should be Orton versus Bray Wyatt in this Firehouse Fun thing gimmick.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
not the Fiend.
Well, when
they're
Strowman won, he didn't beat the Fiend. He beat Bray.
Funhouse Bray.
Yeah.
So, like you said, there's ways that you can do it to where you have, maybe you have Bray lose at TLC and then you get the Fiend at Rumble or whatever the case may be. But
We still don't know what they're going to do yet for Rumble. They're supposedly have to be out of the Thunderdome by December 1st, so they haven't decided officially yet where they're going. But the rumor is supposed to be, Mania is going to be held at Tampa this year, so maybe they'll have Rumble outdoors, or maybe they'll put it wherever they go next. If they go to another base like another Thunderdome or something. And I could see definitely, if everything stays the same right now, I could see a cinema match, at Rumble between the two. Being the Fiend. Do a regular match at TLC and then a cinema match at Rumble. But
does that hurt them because they've already done a cinema match? No. Those two, even though Bray's different, he's the Fiend now. He's not Bray Wyatt, leader of the Wyatt family. He's a different character now. Does that hurt them too if you throw them back into a cinema match because it's already been done?
I think you maybe want to do it better this time.
Yeah.
Because last time it was just wasn't that great for me.
Yeah, the first one was more, it was in the ring, but it's supposed to be a cinema match. I think this time they'll actually do like a full-fledged, like a movie type match. But I think this time you could even go, like whenever they feuded before, you can go deeper into Orton's twisted mind, too. And maybe that's where the match is. Instead of being in the Fiend's world, this one goes in Orton's world.
Hey, as long as I don't get maggots on the wrestling match, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right? All right.
But I agree with you I actually agree with both your Mania predictions right now. But I agreed with you with Sasha and Bailey too. So,
all right. And then the other thing from Raw that I guess you can briefly touch on again, the booking of Retribution right now is just
terrible.
I have no idea what they're doing with it at all.
I don't think they do either.
Like you have an elimination match, which is basically a Survivor Series match before Survivor Series. So I guess you're not getting these 8 people at a match at Survivor Series. Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't know where they're going with it. I can't even think of where they're going with it. And maybe that's what they want us to think right now. Like, who knows? But to me, like I said, it's something that I'm completely over and can care less about.
It got to a point where I actually sat up and wanted to see when it was down to Ali, Benjamin, and Cedric. I actually sat up because I wanted to see what they were going to do, but it just ended with he hit somebody with a chair to get disqualified. Wasn't a good finish for me.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Raw this week, so I follow it a little bit on social media to know what's going on. But
I mean, top to bottom, it's Raw. It's still not a good show. One thing that I hate about WWE, and they do this all the time, is so you had a pay-per-view, it ended, right? Now you jump right into shoving the next pay-per-view down my throat, which is Survivor Series, which growing up as a kid was one of my favorite pay-per-views when they used to do the whole pay-per-view as the Survivor Series matches. And then the survivors would team up at the end to face each other, good guys versus bad guys. And as a kid, that worked for me. I don't know if I was older watching it at the time if it would work or not, but those are my memories of Survivor Series. But you throw right into Survivor Series qualifying matches for Team Raw and Team SmackDown, and it's you have guys that just got drafted to Raw and SmackDown 2 weeks ago, and they're thrown in these matches, and they're supposed to be yay, rah, brand, or SmackDown, and it doesn't make any sense. It's not even believable that you could just be so hyped. AJ Styles just gets drafted to Raw. Now he's all of a sudden just the greatest Raw superstar, promoter out there. Come on, it doesn't make sense.
After he's more known as the face that runs the place on SmackDown.
SmackDown, yeah, it doesn't do anything for me, and I'm kind of disappointed that they went about it this way as far as just throwing SmackDown throwing Survivor Series right at me, and not giving me any interest into
a build.
Yeah, you have champions versus champions, which is okay. It's been done before, but that could be interesting. At least it was last year going into it when you added NXT. Mm-hmm. You had Rhea and you had Bailey and I forget who was Shayna. You had you did have some matches that piqued my interest, but this year it's kind of no NXT, just Raw versus SmackDown. So you announce the champions matches, and it's all right, Bailey and Asuka, we've seen that how many times over the last couple months. Or I'm sorry, Sasha and Asuka, right? Mm-hmm. Roman and Randy, who goes over in that one, I have no idea. I don't think Roman.
That's the one I'm interested in seeing.
I don't think Roman's taking a loss, but Randy just got the strap, so what do you do with that? The tag team championship match, there's no real build to it. New Day did the mock impression of Street Profits on Monday Night Raw, which was pretty good.
Brought in Oscar.
Yeah, Kofi was good mocking Dawkins.
You don't go full Dawkins.
Yeah, you don't go full Dawkins. That was pretty good. But I mean, build wise, no interest, but match wise, I'm interested because I think those two teams could turn out match of the night.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know what they're going to do from now till Survivor Series, but right off the bat, I'm immediately turned off with just the way that they've shoved it down my throat.
It was just Monday, matches booked already, whole show, except for the teams.
Yeah. I think we had kind of talked about it a little bit before, and I think that SmackDown's going to walk away with more wins. I mean, they are the main show.
It's the
better show right
and
now.
Plus, it's the Flagstaff show now. So,
if New Day would win that match, what's that do for them? Nothing. Mm-hmm. If they put Street Profits over, that builds them up more. Yeah. Roman, I think, they just put the title on Randy, but I think it would mean more for a Roman win. with his whole storyline going on.
I
Maybe
see
the Fiend didn't.
I see the
can see,
Fiend getting involved there.
I see a lot of people getting involved in that match.
Yeah. The women's match, that could go. That could be another match that someone interferes in or just goes to wherever it goes.
And how many times you saw it this year already?
Yeah. And I guess it means more for if Sasha's the one that goes into the match, it means more for Sasha to have the win. But then, I mean, Bobby Lashley's beating Sami Zayn, but Sami Zayn could pull something out, and he's kind of like that. We talked about like with the guy down TNA, the X Division champ. How he just magically pulls out the win. That could be that's Sami Zayn too right now. So.
Yeah. So again, the typical week. There's a couple good things, a lot of bad things with Raw, with WWE and the main roster. Let's jump over to Wednesday night.
Can we jump in? We're not gonna talk about Tucker.
No. Because here's why I say no. Right, you pull the turn right after he's been drafted to Raw. Okay,
He's back on SmackDown.
No, he's not back on SmackDown. They just never updated his graphic to show him on Raw.
There's a few people they didn't update.
But they're going to continue this feud even though they're on two separate shows. Mm-hmm. So what's the point in driving Raw and doing this angle?
I just like the turn.
I kind of saw it coming.
I didn't. It caught me by surprise.
I saw it coming. The promo he cut after he turned in the back, it was like your typical, this is why I turned.
Yeah.
Wasn't done really well. I can see why Vince favors Otis in that group and wants to make Otis the star. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, no, they after you pull that BS, you don't update them. You're still continuing it on. Even they're on two separate shows. It's just I can care less.
But at least you have a credible Money in the Bank now.
Yes,
kind of credible.
You do.
Yeah.
And 10 years ago.
So
10 years ago, Randy Orton was your WWE champion and The Miz was your Money in the Bank holder. And flash forward 10 years, 10 years later, Randy Orton's your WWE champion and Miz is your Money in the Bank holder.
They need to find Miz Girl and keep her on speed dial. Just for whenever they're ready to do it, just call her up. Like, if they actually have to have her on screen in the Thunderdome, they put her on screen in the Thunderdome. She needs to be somewhere whenever they're ready to do something with the Miz.
All right, anything else from Raw, SmackDown, Hell in a Cell? Okay, so let's jump into Wednesday nights.
Go.
We had Halloween Havoc on for NXT and going up against AEW. NXT trounced AEW in the ratings this week. I think it had a lot to do with bringing back the nostalgia of Halloween Havoc. Hasn't been around for 20 years, so people were kind of interested in to see what WWE was going to do with it.
The last time they beat AEW in the ratings was this past July for Great American Bash.
Right, so you're looking, again, nostalgia.
Yeah.
People want to see what you're going to do with those old school WCW pay-per-views. I guess I'm not surprised at all whenever you sent me the ratings for Wednesday night, because I watched AEW live and was tweeting out, and you watched Halloween Havoc live and you were tweeting out to that. AEW was not a good show Wednesday night.
No, it wasn't.
It was not. It was probably the worst episode of Dynamite I've watched this year. And they've fallen into a place where a lot of their bookings or storylines, they hit a wall and they're not making sense right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the first time that they've done this since starting out. So just over a year, like for a brand new company that's never written week-to-week television before. Kudos to you for going 53, 54 weeks without having a shitty show. But yeah, it just didn't work for me. The lumberjack match was a lumberjack match just to have it. No
that was
reason
the most
for that.
confusing for me.
Yeah, it was put together to keep the Dark Order out, but yet the Dark Order were lumberjacks in the lumberjack match and interfered. Mm-hmm. The lumberjacks didn't circle the entire ring because of the ramp. So the Dark Order could have came down the ramp and got into the ring because no lumberjacks were there. The town hall with Jericho and MJF didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. Those two have been a miss with this build, and I'm completely disappointed after what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Like, again, the Thinner Debonair segment last week was either hit or miss depending on your style. This Town Hall was not good. It kind of let me down to where like I don't want to see the match, and which is bad because I was really looking forward to seeing him and Jericho because I thought that would be big time money.
I think they rushed it. I think because when we first started talking about this after All Out, we didn't even think it was going to happen a full year. We were thinking it was going to be long term play down the road. They were just going to keep teasing this. So
yeah, they did the intro to Dynamite where they were outside the building and they both got interviewed and they showed them walking away going, "What a loser!" Like,
and I think maybe maybe they did that just to see what the interest was, and then just as a teaser, and then once they realized people
the interest was there, but since it's gone on, it's dropping off for me, and I don't know why. Then.
I think it's a lot to do with what they kind of talked about during the segment this week, is that who MJF is. He tried to do this with Cody, be a nice guy, be his friend, and you see him doing this now with the Inner Circle, and it's kind of like the same thing in a way. And
see, I think it would have been better if they would have went with the angle of MJF and Sammy going at it. To where
try to take that spot.
Try to take Sammy's spot and have Sammy cost Jericho matches, whatever, like build that up that way. And then MJF gets the spot and Sammy's going back to Chris like, you know who this guy is, you know what he does, he's going to turn on you, this, that, the other. And then MJF backstabs Chris and Sammy's like, hey, I told you so. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been better than what they're giving me right now.
Yeah. I actually thought the way it was going to go was because around the same time they started teasing it was that Jericho said that he was going to start teaming with Hager, and so we're just like, well, they're going to go tag team now, so they're not going to do. Jericho's not going singles. I think what they should have done was do that. Hager maybe because he was training for his MMA fight, pulled him aside. Then Jericho's like, well, I can't deal with you if you're going to be off TV every week. Then he goes to Sammy. Maybe them not win, and then he goes, well, I can't go with Pride and Powerful because they're already a tag team. So that's whenever he reaches out to MJF.
They douchebags.
Yeah. And maybe not like brought him in the Inner Circle, but just had them tag team, and maybe that's when you would have seen the feud between MJF and Sammy.
So I mean that didn't do anything for me either. Then you had the Young Bucks and FTR interview to sit down. So
I loved your comment after that.
Telly's off site with FTR at an undisclosed location, but yet he comes out to the ring with Spears. Later on, like how? Really? How does that happen? Like to me, those are little things that like tie into it. Like there wasn't. I mean, granted, he could have gotten a car and drove back to the arena, whatever. But at the same point, like I shouldn't be sitting there going like, wait a second, he was just at an undisclosed location, yet he's coming out with Spears. Like
for a squash match.
That makes no sense at all. So, but the part of it that didn't work for me was the Young Bucks. The whole time they've been super kicking people, being the douchey pricks and everything else and this and that. And now you get this uber babyface promo from them talking about,
we didn't want to do it.
We didn't want to do it. They forced our hand. They turned our friends against us. This, like everything else. And it's like, no, you two did that to yourselves. Like, and then you end it by going, well, if we don't win this match, we're never going to vie for the titles again.
The Cody move.
Yeah.
This storyline's been done already. Why are you going back into it? There was no need to do that stipulation. That's what sometimes AEW adds a stipulation just to add a stipulation. This is one of those times where it didn't work.
Yeah.
There was no need for it.
And the lack of build-up for this pay-per-view that is next week that they basically did a 1 week build-up for.
What does this predict the outcome?
No.
I mean, you're not going to have the Young Bucks lose. There's no way that you have Cody lose and then the Young Bucks lose, and neither one of those three people are ever going to be tag team champ or heavyweight champ.
But this is also pro wrestling, which you can always change that.
So it's like a Roman I Quit match. The outcome already before going in.
Yeah.
You would think, but I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not.
Do you really take the tag titles off the FTR already, though?
I don't know.
If you're trying to build them up, do you really?
They're already built, though.
But maybe you further
or they could swap back and forth. But
what if you have this dream matches is been building online for years with the teams going back and forth. Different companies never thought it was going to happen. You get it, and then this is where we see. I mean, you talked about way back when we first started this podcast. The new
Way back 9 weeks ago.
9 weeks ago, the new Four Horsemen S stable. So you have Hangman come out aligned with FTR or something like that, or Spears comes out because he's with Tully and FTR, and you have the three of them, and you don't know who the fourth's going to be. I don't know. Like, to me, if you don't do some wonky thing, it's the Young Bucks are going to win.
Or do you go with the fourth, or what is it, third or fourth time limit draw?
Yeah, but I don't know if on pay-per-views they have the time limit for the title matches. I know there is something that doesn't have a title match.
I think it's usually 30 or 60 minutes on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's what the titles.
So you're not going to have an hour tag team title match. But so yeah, I don't know where they go. That's another thing that just didn't bode well. And then
of course the women's
Sheeta, not even on television. She's been on Dark. Nyla Rose is the number 2 contender. She puts out a challenge on Dark. So if you don't watch Dark on their YouTube channel, you have no idea that she's even issued this challenge. And then Sheeta calls her out on Dynamite. So it looks just like Sheeta's calling her out with nothing surrounding it at all. And there's been no build to it at all. So, yeah, they're 1 and 2 in the rankings, but it's like, okay,
You're doing the match just to have the match.
Didn't work. And then the last thing, Omega and Pentagon was really good match up until the end. And I say that because Pentagon hits a Canadian Destroyer from the top rope onto the stage, comes in immediately after that move, package power drives Kenny Omega, who kicks out. He then breaks his arm doing the arm move, and somehow Omega is able to withstand all of this and hit a one-winged angel for the win.
We brought this up before. Love the Canadian Destroyer.
There's too many.
It's now turned into the super kick. It's turned into a DDT.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing that I liked how he did the Canadian Destroyer this week. I just didn't like how it was executed because, okay, you're jumping from the top rope and you stop dead, and then you have to jump again. It's like, it kind of doesn't make sense to do the jump from the top or the middle rope, to do it.
So it didn't flow like the Panama Sunrise when Cole hits it in the ring. Where he's jumping and it's one continuous motion. Yeah, so it just threw me off with that. I mean, we called Omega and Hangman in the finals, so I think it'll be a really good match. I think you'll get the full-blown cleaner look, Donald, that you wanted. Chris, you got your crossing of the broomstick
right in the middle of the
entrance that you said
they were listening.
Yes, they did. They came out, they danced in the center, and then he came out and they crossed the broomsticks like you do with the swords in the military. So like walk underneath. So you got that. So I mean, we'll see. The card itself for Full Gear is a stacked card when you look match wise. The build to getting to Full Gear, not so much. No. And a lot of people are saying this is the card that should have been on All Out and not Full Gear.
Yeah,
very true.
Yeah, so we'll see how that all plays out.
Unfortunately, it's just like we said, it's the build. This card deserves more time than what they gave it. And
I think all this is too soon for your first year, though.
Some of these matchups,
for your first year, you just like culminate everything into one, and where do you go from here after this?
Yeah,
you already had your biggest fuse knocked out.
Yeah, like Steve brought up before too, that if you don't watch Dark, you don't know what's going on. Then they just continue the storyline. They keep talking about doing this third hour of TV. At some point, I'd really like to see that be if it isn't the third hour. I'd like to see AEW do a weekly wrap up show.
So did you hear who's rumored to be hosting that third hour or second show of AEW?
Bischoff.
Renee and Mauro Ranallo.
Oh, interesting.
So that would be your wrap-up show, whatever the case may be. Okay. With Dark, sometimes they'll put the graphic up where they'll show the results of Dark.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have a ticker on the bottom line like ESPN has during like football games where you have like ticker and you actually have the rundown of the matches and the records and all that so you can keep that straight. they like the whole Spears and Sky feud was built on Dark, but it's being played out on Dynamite.
I didn't get that when I was watching. Yeah.
So it all happened on Dark. So if you don't know that because you don't watch Dark,
So was the Bull on Dark?
No, the Bull was just as a way, like I get a Halloween type deal.
Okay.
To
He
get
just randomly went up and beat up the Bull.
to get Scorpio payback for what Spears did on Dark.
Bull was throwing candy at him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's throwing candy at him, but it was for payback for Spears trashing Scorpio's locker room, which again on Dark. So either you make Dark your second show and you put it on, or you make it known that, hey, Dark is our second show, but it's only on YouTube.
Yeah.
So the fans know I got to pay attention to Dark just like I do Dynamite. Same thing with being the Elite. There's stuff that's tied in there. It furthers us along, like, so yeah, AEW, not so much this week for me.
So if you want to know everything, they're getting like WWE in a way. Where there's just so much content. But they have so many people in the company, too. Yeah. So you have to watch, a half hour, being the Elite every week. Now Dark's been 2 hours every week, the past few weeks.
Yeah, well, here's what I'll say with that. You don't have to fully invest in Dark. Cage Side Seats does a really good breakdown of Dark. So they'll list off all the matches, and they'll give them like the New Japan grading system where they'll go pass, watch, okay, solid. So you can go through and based off of that. Normally, I forget who does the breakdown for that, but normally they're highlighting the watch and solids are the best matches and also the ones that have storyline ties. So you don't have to spend the full 2 hours on Dark. You can just pick and choose those matches and those angles to go back in to get yourself caught up. So really, you're getting a Hulu condensed version of the show. To where you're up to speed with everything.
And that's where I think that a 1 hour weekly wrap up show would come in handy. Just okay, this week Sheeta accepted Nyla Rose's challenge. Here's what happened. Here's the build up of that and everything.
All right. So then opposite AEW Dynamite was NXT Halloween Havoc. I thought it was a good show. I went back and watched it afterwards because I DVR'd it. Good show. Match quality was good. I'll let the Pete Dunne added into the McAfee stable slide because again, that to me that was supposed to be Ridge Holland's spot. So I think you would have gotten McAfee and Ridge, and then you add in Orkin and Birch to make your 4. Pete Dunne, glad to see him back. Looks absolutely shredded. Yeah. Like he was short and thick before, but now he looks like he's leaned out and he's all cut up. So interesting to see how he looks in the ring now because he was already great in the ring. We'll just see, new physique, see how this works out. But other than that, Chris, I agreed with you after watching the show. Rhea Ripley and Raquel was a really good match.
Both women's.
Yeah, both women's. Io and Candice. Io and Candice is like Bayley and Sasha. They're not going to have a bad match when them two are in the ring together. Io retaining was what it was, given the women that are after her with Ember Moon, and now you have Rhea and Raquel and everything else. So like, I'm okay with her retaining.
I see definitely the Rhea and Raquel match being the beginning of something, not the ending. Like they didn't finalize anything in that match, and it's I think we're gonna see.
Put them two together and have them beat Nia and Shayna for the tag team titles.
Jason's fantasy tag.
I'm with you.
Let them two.
Yeah. Those two big ass women are snacks.
Yeah.
So
snacks.
So yeah, but I mean overall, good show. I don't have too much to go into because it was a good show for me. Like I'm okay with what went on and what happened. Like
it was a little hokey but that was the gimmick of the night.
It was.
So it's like I'm not going to take anything away from that.
Can I get a golf clap for Shotzi Blackheart? Because there were a couple times during that show where I was like, spin the wheel, make the deal.
One more time.
Joking, comedy style. Don't cancel the podcast. Comedy style, okay? Married man, joking. But no, Well done. They brought it back. It was
Yeah, they brought back the wheel. They didn't do the digital wheel.
They didn't do the digital wheel, thankfully. So
On that first spin, though, it looked like it stopped pretty fast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when it was done, I was like, ooh, that's not fast.
I noticed it more for the women's match. I noticed them stopping it. It was more noticeable to me then than the first.
I didn't see a TLC match coming. So
Did they ever give match rules?
They did. So I know. I think like with Gargano's match, like after they did
Devil's Playground.
Yeah, they just the announcers I think just talked.
Just said it was.
And then once they did the women's match, they threw a graphic up.
Okay.
I don't know if they did a graphic with Gargano's or not.
I don't think they did.
I was
When I was watching, I was like, okay, what
Like
is
Falls
it?
Count
Yeah.
Anywhere.
That's pretty much what it was. False
Okay.
count anywhere, no DQ, no
Okay.
count out. It was your false count anywhere, just called Devil's Playground.
Interested to see who's the behind the mask.
It was supposed to be Gurley,
One of their friends, yeah.
The,
Candace was a
Indy Hartwell. That's who it was supposed to be. They
That
said.
didn't look like a chick.
No, they said he's out on COVID restrictions. I do believe.
I thought it was
So they
going to
put
be
a guy in
Ciampa
there.
because the dude seemed tall, but
Ciampa cut a hell of a promo.
Ciampa's promo
He
was
did.
excellent.
I really, like I said, he's my favorite. Even whenever he was heel Ciampa coming out with no
Goldie.
music with Goldie, like his look, just everything, and his promo was excellent on Wednesday night.
Since he came back,
So-
I just kind of felt like he's been
Long
Ciampa.
balls.
Yeah, so this kind of reignited me with him again.
Yeah, when he came out with no music when he first came back after injury, that was perfect.
Yeah.
That was true heel heat there.
So we'll see. Hopefully you'll get some of your big time players back here over the next couple of weeks. No update on Balor, just a little short video package.
I was surprised they didn't do an update
Yeah,
this week.
Karrion Cross, I think will be back sooner rather than later.
Scarlett keeps teasing stuff on
Scarlett
Twitter.
keeps teasing stuff there, so we'll see what happens. And then just a couple other things quickly here in wrestling to tie up the bell to bell segment. New Japan confirmed that their Power Struggle event is coming to New Japan World on November 7th with live English commentary. So if you're a fan of New Japan, you will get English commentary for this pay-per-view. Some of the matchups, you have Naito versus Evil. You got Okada versus the Great Khan. I don't know who that is. I haven't been paying attention.
I'm not sure that is.
The graphic kind of looks like a masked character, so I don't know if it's somebody that hasn't been revealed yet.
Better not be Grado
Yeah.
from TNA.
Then you have Kenta versus Tanahashi, which I think will be a really good matchup. And you have Ibushi versus Jay White. So not a bad top four there. So that's Power Struggle, November 7th, again, same day as AEW Full Gear, but New Japan, since they're so far ahead, you can watch that before.
In the morning.
You can watch that before Full Gear. And then lastly, ROH hit the swerve. Jay Lethal loses in the semifinals of the ROH Pure Tournament. Tracy Williams picks up the W. He goes on today to face John Gresham in the finals. So interesting matchup there. I know I would have liked to seen Lethal and Gresham, but I understand Williams going over, and maybe he wins this whole thing as like a shock and surprise, and you've elevated a new star coming out of the tournament.
Yeah, Ring of Honor is different because all their shows are syndicated throughout the country. I noticed last week. So here in Pittsburgh, we can watch it today, but they don't officially give the results till Monday on Ring of Honor because I guess that's like
Because it
the
airs
official
Monday
day.
at 7. So
Okay.
it's like the lead into Raw.
So-
Different parts around the country. So yeah, done well. And then on this episode, you also get EC3 in the Briscoes against Shane Thorne, and I forget
Okay.
the other two guys again. So that's this week's episode for Ring of Honor.
I haven't watched. I wanted to watch the Pure Tournament. I just didn't take the time to do it. But I'll
It
definitely watch
was
today's
done.
episode.
It was done really well. I will give Ring of Honor kudos for that. They put on a good tournament there. Matches were excellent. It fit the tournament to a T. So good quality there. But yeah, that's all I have for wrestling this week.
Just one update on my end was I watched NXT UK this week. There was 2 decent matches on there. One, Jordan Devlin came back on NXT UK.
Yeah, he was promoted. He was promoted to come back this week.
So he had a match and he came out with the Cruiserweight Championship. So I kind of like the idea that NXT UK has the Cruiserweight Championship and NXT has a Cruiserweight Championship. Because this whole time on WWE.com they advertise both of them as champion. So I kind of like that, they're not traveling, so you're going to see 2 titles for a little bit, and then, at some point you're going to get that match.
Ladder match.
Probably. Who knows when, travel restrictions have to be lifted before that can happen, but I just kind of like that little tease that they're going to have now. And then I highly recommend going back, watching the main event this week. The actual episode is usually an hour. It went overtime this week. The main event was a solid half-hour match. The 2 beat the shit out of each other. That's all it was.
Walter Dragunov?
Yeah. If you like Walter, you know what he's like in the ring. But if you watched, say, Walter and Tyler Bate and you enjoyed that match, I think this match you'll enjoy too. That's all they did. They beat the shit out of each other for 30 minutes. So, yeah.
Anybody got anything else?
Anybody touch on Thunder Rosa? Indeed.
No. So Serena Deeb wins the NWA title in a very good match. If you watched Dynamite, she came out and defended it. That was one of the bright spots on Dynamite. On Wednesday night was her match with Hirsch. So, surprising here. Rumor has it, and I hope it's not true, is that she is going to sign with WWE.
I've seen those rumors.
I hope not.
Yeah. I think she'd be one of the ones that unfortunately would get lost in the shuffle. If she would go to NXT, she'd be fine. But once Vince brings her up, she'll get lost in the shuffle. I think she'd be better treated in AEW. And if she could do an agreement where she could do NWA and AEW, it seems like some of these guys are doing now, I think that would be the best. Yeah. That would be the best for her interest, I think. She'd get a decent paycheck.
Did you catch Hirsch? We always do this little build from little things. They had her announce build from Moscow.
Okay.
And then immediately the announcers start talking about her New Jersey high school run. Her birthplace.
Yeah. So, I don't know. But, all right. Is that it? Anything else? All right, folks. That was this week in Bell to Bell.
Chug, 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 chug.
This Halloween special edition of the Drink of the Week segment is brought to you by grown-up Halloween parties, sexy maid costumes, and going home alone.
Womp, womp.
Womp, womp.
For Halloween, we decided to go with Whole Hog Beer's Casper White Stout.
And if you can't guess it already, Casper the Friendly Ghost,
Exactly.
Casper, Halloween, tying it all together for you folks.
Whoop, whoop. So if you guys remember, we tried Whole Hog's Pumpkin Ale a few weeks ago. That was Steve's favorite pumpkin ale. We both really liked that.
Yep.
I think that's probably one of the best that we've had so far on the show.
Absolutely. So why not stick with the best? Why not stick with one of their other versions? And this is the Casper White Stout. We're going to drink this separately, and then, as their website says, we're going to add the Whole Hog Pumpkin Ale to the Casper White Stout to give that a review for you guys as well. So, bonus, double dip edition of Drink of the Week here.
Hey, it's Halloween. It's a special edition. Might as well.
Let's go. Nothing better than drinking beer while you're walking around with the kids while they get candy. Shout out to those parents that hand out beers to the adults when they come up too. It's trick or treat for them as well.
That's what adulting is.
There's a couple houses over by my way that does that every year. I love it. First impressions after drinking the Casper White Stout. Now, before Chris gives his review here, we got to be honest with you folks. We weren't able to find a 6-pack of the Casper White Stout. Okay, so there's a beer place near us, these 6-packs and dogs, where we went. They had the Casper White Stout on tap from a keg, so we went and bought a growler of it to review for this segment here. So I don't know if that will play different into the taste of it. Like, when you drink beer out of a bottle compared to a can, it tastes different. So I don't know, tap wise, would it taste different than coming out of the bottle?
Yeah.
When we did the whole hog pumpkin ale.
And I'm wondering that too, because the difference on their website just listed as JP's Casper White Stout, and the one that was on tap that we got today was Casper White Stout Nitro.
Okay.
So Nitro pours a little bit differently.
Right.
So since that pours differently, we bought it in a growler. We actually only bought it about an hour or two ago, so it hasn't been sitting long. It kind of tastes a little flat to me.
I get the flatness of it too, and I want to say maybe that's just because it was poured from the tap from the keg into the growler. So like you said,
a little bit.
It hasn't settled well. So I do get some of the flatness of it. I'd like to maybe drink this again a day or two later, after it kind of settles and sits for a while. But I gotta tell you, like it's smooth. Like for a stout, I would definitely get this for a stout. And for it being a blonde stout too. I'm used to drinking your dark stouts. Compared to a blonde stout, but for being,
I've never even heard of a white stout before this beer.
So for it being a white stout or a blonde stout, you have Guinness Blonde.
Okay,
is another white stout, but I would definitely recommend this for sure if you're out at a place that has it. Like I said, it probably tastes better coming out of the bottle, than straight out of the tap into a growler and drinking it, an hour or 2 hours later. But it's smooth. It tastes good. Not really sure flavor profile wise what I'm picking up. I can't really put my finger on it. I just know that it tastes good.
Just to divulge a little more information other than like how we bought the beer, we also are taping this after we drank another beer. And the beer that we had before this was from a couple weeks ago that we did the review on Southern Tier Cold Brew Coffee Pumpkin. And I'm not sure if the coffee's still lingering on my palate, even though we tried to cleanse our palates afterwards. And because I'm still getting some coffee, but they do have in the description that there is coffee hints in this beer.
So it's probably it might be the coffee hints.
It could be
because I don't have the bitter aftertaste from the pumpkin coffee cold brew that we had. I definitely enjoy this. Like I said, I have no problem drinking this as a white stout. More of a dark stout guy myself. So
it's not as creamy as some other stouts that I would normally drink, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I do like stouts. The creamy, the flavor, because I like the chocolate. I like the. But again,
the coffee I would go into that's the difference between a dark stout and a white stout.
Yeah, could be. So I was really kind of hoping maybe it would be similar. Just the same thing that you would get from a dark stout and just put it as a light beer.
Before we add the pumpkin or the whole hog pumpkin ale to the white stout, like the website says, on a scale of 1 to 5 sumos, what would you give the whole hog Casper white stout by itself?
Me, I'm a little disappointed. I think I'm going to go with a 2.
Okay, I won't go as low as you. I'll go with a 3. I'll keep it middle of the road.
Okay.
I think one of the, like we said, the factors of it being from a keg into a growler, kind of tasting it after another beer. By itself, I would go a 3. I would definitely circle back around and drink this again later on to see if my view of it changes.
I agree. So I might put an asterisk.
I would put an asterisk next to it for sure. But so a 2 for you, a 3 for me, with an asterisk to go back and try it again.
Yeah.
So you folks out there, if you're out there, try it. Let us know what you think. And now we'll move on. We'll add the pumpkin ale to it and see what that tastes like.
So what they posted on Instagram with this is that's supposed to be, the pumpkin and this white stout is supposed to be like pumpkin and whipped cream.
Okay, so like pumpkin pie.
That's what they want, the flavor profile.
As a chubby kid, if I'm getting pumpkin pie in my beer, whew,
exactly.
Let's close the door, wrap up shop. So let's go. Let's try the pumpkin pie version of it. I gotta tell you, I definitely get the pumpkin pie aspect, the pumpkin and the whipped cream for sure.
Yeah,
I would have it. You know what? It's like a black and tan. Okay, I would drink this. I would drink the combo together more than I would drink the white stout by itself. Just
I
like
agree.
how I'm a big fan of black and tans. I like black and tans. So I would definitely go with the combo drill compared to the stout by itself.
Yeah. I really feel like in that first sip, I didn't taste coffee. So I kind of feel like that wasn't my palate, or the pumpkin, the spice and everything just cleansed it more. Definitely that first sip, I did feel like I was drinking pumpkin pie. So their description was spot on, and I enjoyed this combination a whole lot more than I enjoyed the white stout by itself.
Yeah, drinking it some more here, the combination definitely works. If you're in an area where you can find both, I would highly suggest buying both and doing the combo, like I said, like a black and tan. The whole hog pumpkin ale by itself, we already reviewed that. We gave that, almost 5 stars across the board.
Yeah. And that, honestly, I don't think it really changed my score at all by adding that in.
No.
I just enjoyed it a different way.
Right, absolutely. 100% agree with that, no doubt. So the combo version of this, what would you give on a scale of 1 to 5 sumos?
I'd still keep it the same. That's what I was saying. I don't feel like the combination changed my original score in any way. It just was a different variation of it. So I gave 4.75 the last time, and I'm going to keep it there.
Okay, I'm with you. I'll go a 4.5 on the combo. I believe I was a 5 on the pumpkin ale just because that's my number one. Whole hog's my number one. But this by no means is a detriment to the pumpkin ale by itself. So even though my rating's a little bit lower, this is definitely on the upper tier of what I would sit down and drink for sure. And if I'm able to be at a place where I can mix the both, I'm definitely going to mix them for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely wouldn't mind if we could, because we're able to find the whole hog pumpkin ale in the 6-pack. If we could find the Casper Stout in the 6-pack, I would definitely like to try that. See if there is any difference between the nitro draft.
Between the nitro and the regular stout. Yeah, hey, whole hog, we're going to tag you in this, and if you're listening, send the dumb marks here a way to get the white stout itself compared to the nitro brewed white stout, so we can give that a legitimate review by itself. And then, as always, we'll gladly take a 6-pack of each so we can put this combo dip together and roll out. 2's better for 1 in this case, and I like the 2 together 100% more than each of them by themselves.
And I mean, hey, whole hog, while you're listening, if you want to figure out a way for us to get some of that hazelnut brownie porter, I wouldn't be upset over that either.
Whew, man, we can find that and review that in an upcoming episode of the drink of the week. So, as always, folks, double dip time edition here on the special Halloween edition for Drink of the Week segment. So we ask you to grab your glasses, your cans, your bottles, your shots, whatever you're drinking to with us this week, and hold them up high as we go to good ships and wood ships and ships that sail the seas. But the best ships are friendships, and friends will always be. Salute.
Cheers. All right, folks, happy Halloween. We're going to have a segment here where we're going to cover our bottom 5 worst Halloween candies.
Yeah, everybody's list, you hear your top 5 power rankings or best of this, best of that. But on the Dumb Marks podcast, when we do rankings, we do the bottom 5, the toilet bowl, the shit of the shits.
And I think we're really going to get that on this list. So.
Somebody's got the shit beat out of them.
So, Steve, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll go into mine. So my worst or bottom 5 Halloween candies are in this particular order. I'm going to go Red Vines at number 5. Okay, I'm going to go with Raisinets at number 4.
Fruit does not belong.
No. Number 3 is going to be Whoppers.
Okay. I disagree with you on that one. But.
Number 2 is a combo deal, but they're similar. I'm going to go Mounds and Almond Joy.
Definitely agree.
And then the number 1 worst candy of all time is candy corn.
I agree.
That's my 5.
Jason?
Okay, I have 5. I'm going to go with 2 that they're not on the bottom. They just shouldn't be given away. Well, 1 shouldn't be given away, and the other one's just always at the bottom of the candy bowl. So 5, I'm going to go pretzels. Bag pretzels. You shouldn't give away Halloween. Nobody wants those.
Outside the box thinking. I like this. Okay.
4 is one that's always at the bottom of the candy dish. Is Whoppers. So I agree with you on that. Then my top 3 would be
Bottom 3.
Bottom three My bottom 3 would be any kind of black licorice,
Nice call.
bit of honey.
Oh, good call. Good call.
That's nasty ass candy, and Necco wafers.
Okay.
Necco wafers.
I wish I was going to try to find some to buy and bring them. I couldn't find any, but yes.
I think you can buy them down that candy store down the waterfront that has like all the retro stuff.
There's the candy store down South Side that you can go in and buy. It's down on like 21st or 22nd Street.
Yeah.
It's on the corner there.
Yeah.
They have everything that you can think of, like the Bottle Rocket or Rockets candy down the waterfront.
Okay.
But yeah, Necco wafers. Yeah, but a bit of honey and black licorice. Nice
those are
calls
good
there.
ones.
They had them listed at Big Lots, but they'd probably be expired anyway, so.
An honorable mention for mine was going to be whenever people used to give out pennies. It's just like,
nickels.
really? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You get
So
nickels.
like, why, you're giving out change. Like, you didn't want to go out and buy candy. You just went upstairs and got your change dish and just started giving that out. Number 5 for me was Raisinets. Yeah. They're fruit and stuff like that. That doesn't belong in Halloween.
I like Raisinets. And Red Vines.
Number 4, I'm going to go like any type of just like that old people candy, the hard candy.
Oh, the grandma's candy.
Yeah.
dish? For real?
Like the
Like those-
peppermints and stuff. Like, no, I don't want
Come
that.
on, those the strawberries with the strawberry wrapper that look like a strawberry. Those are like one of the best candies of all time.
I'll do that any time of the year, but not on Halloween.
I seen a meme saying, "Where do you find those?" Because nobody's seen them since. Your grandma just knows the dealer.
Yeah. 3 could kind of tie in Jason's bit of honey, but I just put taffy in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't like any type of taffy.
This dude.
Number 2, I'll agree with you. I had Almond Joy and Mounds. I hate coconuts,
I hate
so.
coconut too, yeah.
And then number 1, of course, candy corn. But have you guys seen the thing that Brock's is making for this upcoming Thanksgiving? They're making candy corn for Thanksgiving, but it's flavored as one's going to be flavored turkey, one's going to be flavored mashed potatoes, one's going to be flavored cranberry.
No.
It's like, no, you what? Number 1, you made bad candy to begin with, and now you made it even worse. It's just like, no, like.
I will
that's
say
terrible.
Trolley made a kind. That made me change my mind a little bit.
Really?
Just on that, candy corn is still terrible.
Yeah.
But they made a good batch.
Yeah, like, no, like candy corn's just terrible.
All right, and now for the worst 5 lists from the worst person giving the worst 5 lists with the worst take of the worst 5 lists.
Well, I'll start off with my wild card, which is Reese Cups.
Who this man? This dude. Reese Cups is not on the bottom 5 list of worst Halloween candy.
In my opinion, it is garbage.
There might be nothing better than a slightly frozen Reese Cup straight out of the freezer.
Chris, have you kicked anybody out lately?
I haven't. Think I gotta throw it on this one?
Yeah. Sit his chair by the door.
It's cold outside. I would kick him outside, but he would enjoy it.
Yeah, I would.
The weather today.
Every time I went trick-or-treating, all the Reese Cups I got from trick-or-treating, I gave them to Jason. They just wasn't one of my favorites. So that's my wild card one. But then I have number 5 as Tootsie Pops. I'm not a big fan of suckers like that. Number 4 are Sweet Tarts. Number 3 is Good and Plenty. I don't know who can make box of candy like that. It's yeah.
Yeah. It's that black licorice,
hit or miss
too.
with me.
Bananas taste.
Number 2 are Smarties, the little small wrap Smarties. Yeah, they always. My sister, whenever she used to open them as a kid, I always used to step on them, and I never forgave her for that or forgave the candy for that. And number 1, of course, is like everybody else, is candy corn. That is the bottom dump, the Domino's pizza of candy.
All right, folks, there you have it. The worst 5 Halloween candies according to the dumb marks. If you like any of our lists, give us a shout out. If you think we got any wrong, like Donald putting Reese Cups, feel free to tag him and blast the shit out of him on all social media.
I'll tag him in the post, so, have fun with it. Yeah.
All right, and with that, enjoy trick-or-treating tonight with your kids. And shout out to all the parents that give the other parents who are walking around with their kids alcohol to drink while they're walking around. You guys deserve a medal on Halloween. All right, folks, this week in sports is going to be mostly football-centric since we're getting into that time of year where the other sports that had their bubbles come to an end. NHL wrapped up, NBA wrapped up, and then this week we saw the MLB playoffs wrap up with the Los Angeles Dodgers winning that elusive World Series, or as their commissioner called it, a piece of metal. At the presentation,
They may have to stay in the bubble for a couple days.
So the Dodgers win the World Series. Instead of talking about the Dodgers and what was an entertaining series, we got nothing but COVID talk. And the reason why we got COVID talk is because the Dodgers third baseman tested positive for COVID, played 8 innings, then got yanked from the game because his positive test came back, second positive test, and then came back out on the field after the game to celebrate with the rest of the team.
I mean, the damage was already done. So.
I mean, first things first, you're supposed to be in a bubble, so how do you even test positive if you're in the bubble, right? It was the whole part of doing the playoffs and the World Series was to bubble it, to contain it. Not only that, but he tests positive. They tell him it is a false positive. You're good to go out and play, but we're going to give you a second test. The results of that second test don't come back to the middle of the game, and you pull him in the 8th inning. It makes no sense at all. It shouldn't have been out there, period.
Yeah.
Regardless if it was a false positive or not. Like, there's no reason to put him out there. It was just, it was baseball fumbling, bumbling, stumbling over itself again. Just like before the season started with all the union talks and back and forth and them not even reaching an agreement to where the commissioner had to put out a 60-game schedule. It was just, for a sport that needs to do everything it can to keep a fan base because everything else has passed it by as far as pace of play and fan experience and everything else. Not the best of light shown on you at your crowning moment.
No, like I said, the damage was already done. So I can kind of understand why he went back out there. But I agree, he shouldn't have been there. They should have pulled him at the beginning and said, until we know what your result is, you can't play.
What happens if Tampa Bay comes back and wins that game? Are they even going to be able to play Game 7 the following day?
True. Yeah.
So then what do you do?
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, screw it. The Dodgers won. We got all our money for pulling this off. Like, oh, well.
You have co-champions.
It's really bad. It's really bad when the optics are really bad when you show him on screen holding the World Series trophy next to his wife, no mask on, leaning in to give her a kiss, and the graphic underneath says that he tested positive for COVID.
And then him taking the team picture next to his coach, who's a cancer survivor.
Who's at higher risk. Like, come on.
I heard somebody's wife was pregnant.
Yeah, all these things, it's not a good look for baseball at all.
And I think that's something that they have time now, I'd say they probably wouldn't come back till the spring anyways if something would happen. But, they got to do better.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be gone away by the time the spring rolls around, so they need to do something better, just like all the teams do. NBA's talking about coming back at Christmas time.
Far too soon.
Far too soon. And, if they do it, I'm hoping they just stick with the bubble instead of traveling again.
Yeah.
And
that's going to be a fight because the players don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So interesting that baseball, and this ties in also to, I guess, hockey and NBA as well. So you have teams in Canada, right, for all 3 sports, okay? Blue Jays were already not allowed to play in Canada because of travel back and forth, right? You have the Raptors who were in a bubble but out of the bubble, which they're going to do next year because they just lost too much money. They're not going to, regardless, fans can be in some arenas or not, they're going to have fans. Well, Kansas City, I guess, offered for the Raptors and I believe the Maple Leafs to come in and call Kansas City their home for the upcoming NBA and NHL season.
Okay.
NHL is going to be tough. You have 7 or 8 teams that are north of the border. So, I've had this discussion with other people. Like, do you have those teams just play each other up there, and then you have the teams in the States play each other, or do you move the teams from the States up into Canada and just play across Canada for the NHL season? But that's not really fair. Like, it's gonna get really interesting with some of these sports organizations and what they have to do, given teams that are north of the border.
Yeah, because the Canada had said last week that this week it was supposed to reopen the border, and they said, no, we're not doing that.
No, because we've climbed in cases consistently over the last 2 weeks. Like,
so, yeah, I mean, I have heard that one of the things being discussed is possibly just all American teams playing each other and all Canadian teams playing each other. I don't know how that will work out, but...
I'd say like 2 bubbles close to the border on each side.
Okay.
And if you need to, you can cross there.
Canada won't let you cross.
Yeah,
That's
they'd
what the
have to get
issue
that
is.
passed.
So, like, if you were to move the American teams up into Canada, right? It's easier because you have 7 or 8 teams. They're spread out across Canada, so you could have 3 or 4 sites for Western Conference teams, 3 or 4 sites for Eastern Conference teams, and you can play everybody within those 3 sites, right? Mm-hmm. But then the United States teams lose the revenue and everything else and all that. Mm-hmm. So that's there's a lot to go into all that.
Then how long is their season talking about going?
They haven't said that.
They haven't said yet. I know NBA they have to hit 72 games in order to get all their TV money. Mm-hmm. So they have to put on 72 games. Mm-hmm. So regardless, a shortened schedule is fine, but that shortened schedule will be 72 games. They're not going to go less than 72.
They're playing double headers.
I'm hoping that hockey goes, the shortened season of maybe January through June, somewhere around there, like they did a couple years ago too.
And when hockey's in a sprint like that, it's so fun to watch.
Oh yeah, it's so much better.
It is. Mm-hmm.
Just like
because we can't play around. We just have to go for it right now.
Yeah. So I'd like to see that, but.
So to keep on with the optics of COVID, as everybody knows by now, the biggest story in college sports is Trevor Lawrence testing positive for COVID. Clemson quarterback, predictably the number 1 overall draft pick in this year's coming NFL draft. If he decides to join, there's some up in the air with that, depending if the Jets get the number 1 overall pick. He might go back to Clemson for his senior year, or maybe pull an Eli Manning or John Elway and say, don't draft me because I'm not coming to your team. But he tests positive. He's out this week. The Tigers are currently playing Boston College as we record, and they are losing right now. So we'll see what happens with that. His availability, according to the ACC policies, he has to sit out 10 days from when symptoms start. So not when you get your positive test. Mm. Some up in the air and controversy about this, because if it was supposed to be whenever he got his positive test, that would mean he would miss next week's matchup against Notre Dame, which is a top 5 matchup, if Clemson were to win today, which is the bigger test for them. So we'll see how this shakes out. What's funny is college can't get this right? So you had Power 5 schools, you had the Big Ten and the Pac-12 canceled the season at the beginning. ACC, Big 12, SEC, we're playing 10, 11 games. Some independents, you have to figure out a schedule, whatever, right? So then the Big Ten gets talked into having the season back, right? So they go, okay, you guys want to play so much and this and that, all right, fine, we'll play. However, you test positive for COVID, you're out automatic 21 days. 21 days. So Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz, redshirt freshman, has a game of his life last Friday against Illinois, Wisconsin, who has high hopes this year. He looks like a legit playmaker at quarterback. Test positive, nope, you're out 21 days, see you later. So that's 3 games automatically in an 8-game season, right? There was a game that the Big Ten was going to cancel. Oh, Wisconsin canceled.
They canceled against Nebraska.
So that game's a no contest now, right? So in order to qualify for the Big Ten championship, you have to play at least 6 games out of the 8. So they're already down 1. Mm-hmm. Who knows how long or how many other games are going to be missed. ACC, their standards are different, like I just said. Trevor Lawrence tests positive. He only has to sit out 10 days and have like 2 or 3 consecutive negative tests, and he's okay to come back. So like each conference is set up differently. There's no wiggle room for Big Ten or Pac-12.
It didn't start yet.
Because it didn't even start yet. It's just going to be a disaster. I legitimately have no idea how they find 4 teams and crown an actual worthy national champion this year. Because you have teams playing 8 games, you have teams playing 10 games, you have teams playing 11 games. It's only conference matchups. It's not out-of-conference matchups. So, like, it's going to be just a complete shit show, I think, coming down the end whenever they finalize who the 4 are that make the college football playoff to play for the national championship.
And with Wisconsin and Nebraska canceling, Nebraska went and tried to schedule UT Chattanooga to play so they could get, at least their games in. And the Big Ten said, no. You're only playing conference games.
Yep.
So,
yeah, it's really, I mean, whether you agree with them playing football this year or not, being, college athletes and not professionals, that's a separate discussion. That trends into more of a political football being kicked back and forth, and we don't discuss politics on this podcast. So it is what it is, but it's going to be a hell of a ride coming down the stretch here over the next 2 months to figure out who's actually going to play for the national championship. Moving forward here, we got NFL, the midway point, week 8 here coming up, and obviously in Pittsburgh, it's Ravens week. The Dirty Birds from Baltimore, the true rivals, who I think over the years, it's changed a bit, the rivalry, in my opinion. It's gone from pure hatred into more of a respect and a dislike. Yeah. I think Cincinnati with the perfect years and all that and the dirty tactics that they use, I think it's more of a hatred between the Steelers and the Bengals. The Browns just get beat up on, so they don't even count. So, yeah, Steelers, Ravens, chance to really elevate yourself. If you're the Steelers, stay undefeated. Be a game up on Baltimore with one game to play. You'd be 2 games up because they would have 2 losses. You still have 0 coming down the second half of the season here. So I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'm excited to watch it. I'm a little nervous going into this game.
Very nervous, yeah. The Steelers, they
play down.
Whenever they play down in Baltimore, they get really sketchy. They play down to the competition.
So this game marks some NFL coaching history because it'll be the 25th time that Harbaugh and Tomlin face each other. If you look at playoffs and regular season, Tomlin versus Harbaugh, Tomlin's 13-14. They met 27 times, so they're right around each other. Total points scored, when you look at the rivalry over the years, and that, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, they're both around 20 points a game. So for you bettors out there, I don't know what the over-under is, but more than likely you're going to get the under in this one. I don't see it being a very high-scoring game, even though the Steelers have hit 27 points in 4 straight games for the first time in Lord knows how long. But it's going to be a dogfight. It will. I think this week, more than last week against Tennessee, the losses of Bush and Mike Hilton are going to show up more this week. Especially, I think, Bush on Mark Andrews, the tight end. That's going to be a huge, huge loss there. And Mike Hilton, his slot corner capabilities are top in the league. Baltimore's banged up too. Jimmy Smith might not play for them. They're top corner, but they have 3 corners across the board. They just traded for Everson Griffin, who's eligible to play in the game this week. I don't know if he will or not. Calais Campbell from Jacksonville they got. So it'll be interesting. It's going to be a dogfight. We'll see if the Steelers are able to come out on top. But it'll be your typical heart attack Steeler game if you're watching tomorrow. So, all right. Any other key matchups you guys looking at as far as games go this week in week 8? Some of the other ones to kind of look forward to: Seattle and San Francisco play. Tennessee play Cincy. I'm trying to think what other key games are. The Buccaneers are on Monday night 1 week before AB comes back. So Antonio Brown joining the Bucs offense, and Tom Brady's getting every piece of the puzzle there for him to win a championship. They really are legitimately
every piece of the gauntlet.
It's Super Bowl or bust, right? I mean, Thanos completed the gauntlet there. Kansas City added Le'Veon Bell. He looked good last week in the snow in Denver, so another week for him under that belt. We'll see what he does with them there. So
New England plays Buffalo, and if Buffalo wins, it could be the end of New England already.
Yeah, so that's Stephon Gilmore's name has been up for trade talks this week. we'll see if they trade him.
Edelman is hurt.
Edelman's out. Yeah, so I mean, football. You can start to see if you look over these divisions here. We did our picks in the beginning of the season for who we thought. We'll run through the list real quick now as the divisions are constructed and see if you want to keep that team that's in first place or switch them out for somebody else. So right now, AFC East, you have the Bills, Dolphins, Patriots, Jets. Bills are 5-2. Dolphins are in second at 3-3. Patriots 2-4. The Jets are 0-7. Does anybody think that Buffalo will not win this division?
I don't trust anybody in the division. I want to see what Tua does, though.
Yep, Tua's first game officially tomorrow. We'll see if that either hurts or helps the Dolphins there with that surprise quarterback change coming off the bye week. So I'm going to stick with the Bills as far as winning the division. Bills. Okay, so we'll keep the Bills there. AFC West, Chiefs 6-1, Raiders 3-3, Chargers 2-4, Broncos 2-4. Does anybody think the Chiefs will lose this division?
Not at all.
No. Not at all. The rich get richer there. So Kansas City, obviously. AFC South, Titans 5-1, Colts 4-2, Texans 1-6, Jaguars 1-6. This division here, I could see the Colts winning it when it's all said and done. It'll be a battle between them and the Titans. You can take a coin flip, honestly, because they're both built the same.
Jags are turning it around.
Here,
The AEW.
And then AFC North, Steelers 6-0, Ravens 5-1, Browns 5-2. That's a false 5-2 because they the only two teams with a winning record they played Baltimore week 1 and got blown out, and then they played the Steelers 2 weeks ago and got blown out. So they beat up on just scrubs. And then the Bengals 1-5. Poor Joe Burrow. Like, dude is going to be a legit superstar, you could tell.
Good.
But he might die during the season. And tomorrow, he better take out a Lloyd's of London life insurance policy because his left tackle, right guard, and right tackle are all out. So go figure, right? So
Next Andy Dalton.
are we? Well, I mean, we're all from Pittsburgh. We're going to keep the Steelers as winning the division, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So Homer City here. NFC wise, we'll get to the toilet bowl or the NFC East, as it's called. NFC South: Buccaneers 5-2, Saints 4-2, Panthers 3-5, Falcons 2-6. Anybody want to take anybody else besides Tampa Bay there?
No,
No.
they're going for it.
Yeah. Tampa all the way.
I'll go with Tampa too. And yes, AB added in. Who knows what that offense is going to look like with him? But their defense is what got me. Their defense is young. They're hungry. They have probably two of the best linebackers. Their secondary is all 24 or younger, and they're all studs. So their defense is going to be around for a while.
They shut the Packers down that one a couple weeks ago.
Somehow the Bears beat them. Go figure, right? So NFC North: Packers 5-1, Bears 5-2. Lions 3-3, Vikings 1-5. Anybody want to take anybody else besides the Packers? Yep. All right. Packers consensus.
Who are the
there.
Packers receivers?
Deontay Adams.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah, Devontae Adams, right?
it's like I never know the Packers receivers, but
You
they're
got
always stellar.
you got Devontae Adams. They were rumored as far as maybe a potential trade partner for Will Fuller from the Texans this week, but
Speed demon.
they weren't able to reach a deal. I think if they would have reached out to him whenever Bill O'Brien was the coach, they could have got Will Fuller for a block of sharp cheddar cheese. I mean, it would have been nothing. So, NFC West: Seahawks 5-1, Cardinals 5-2, Rams 5-2, Niners 4-3. So there's some talk that all four teams, because they expanded the playoffs this year, that all four teams from this division can get in the playoffs.
I see the Seahawks and Cardinals getting in. Seahawks being the top.
I see Arizona maybe getting Seattle.
Did I say the Cardinals? Hold on.
Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like the Cardinals, and that's just because I have Kyler Murray as my fantasy quarterback who's balling right now. So they just beat Seattle.
Yeah, their
in
offense
overtime.
is on point.
Yeah. And then the toilet bowl or the NFC East: Eagles 2-4-1, Washington 2-5, Cowboys 2-5, Giants 1-6.
Somebody said just make an all-star team.
Forget picking the winner of this division, right? Does any team win? Okay, over under for total number of wins for the winner of this division. I'm going to place at 6. Does any team from this division win its division by more than 6 wins?
I'd say at 6. I got push. Is that?
Yeah, that's a push.
So you're gonna have a division winner at 6-10 host a home playoff game.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I will say this.
I love the COVID era.
Philly's starting to get a little bit healthier. They got Jalen Reagor coming back this week. Their top draft pick of this year, wide receiver from TCU, who's a speedster, who's really good. Goddard will come back from the IR in 2 weeks. They're getting healthier on defense. Their defense hasn't played that bad. Their defense is pretty good. Carson Wentz is what he is, so we'll see if he can will his team like he did last year. But I mean, out of all these choices, I'm just gonna go with the Eagles. Yeah, they seem to be the team that has
the better team.
The better team out of these 4.
I see it being between them and the Cowboys, possibly. I don't see the other two doing anything.
All right, and then since we're at the halfway point, go around the room here and get our MVP predictions for this year. Donald, we'll kick it off with you. Who do you think wins MVP? Or maybe I should change the name of it. It's not MVP award. It's the quarterback award because only freaking quarterbacks are talked in MVP discussions, which is insane. It's the same with the Heisman. Like, just change it to a quarterback award because you're not crowning the best player in the NFL and you're not crowning the best player in college football. It's legitimately a quarterback who wins it every year. Adrian Peterson, last MVP, 2012. That was a non-quarterback.
Wow. I'll say Russell Wilson because he's been playing top-notch since week 1. But the way Tom Brady is getting play all over the airways and everything, he'll probably be the winner. But I go with Russell Wilson.
I think Tom Brady's going to get that LeBron snub, so I'm going to go with Russell Wilson.
I gotta give it to Ben. I didn't think the Steelers were going to be as good as they have been this season.
I don't think he'll ever.
I don't think he'll.
He doesn't get the respect.
No, I'm giving him the credit, but Tom Brady's getting it.
Maybe record-wise, Ben might get comeback player of the year because of their record at the end of the year. Stats-wise, he's not going to be in the discussion. For me, right now, I think it's a two-headed race. You either got Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers. Right now, give me a coin flip. Give me Russ. And I'm going to say Russ only because now I think after AB was at his house working out with him, Seattle was in talks to bring him in, and he shuns Russell to go down with Tampa Bay Buccaneers and TB12 down there. I think Russ has a chip on his shoulder the rest of the season and takes a run at the all-time touchdown totals for NFL quarterback in a season.
Now, is there a non-QB guy you put up there? I don't see any running backs.
Derrick Henry would be the only possible candidate if he goes on a run like he did on the second half of last season where he's averaging, 150, 160 yards a game and, he gets to that 2,000-yard rushing mark. That's what the year AP won in 2012. He had over 2,000 rushing yards. Don't really see it there. Defensive player, they don't ever talk for MVP. They just give them the Defensive Player of the Year award, which is basically the MVP of the defense. On the defensive side of the ball, a lot of people are talking Myles Garrett, and it's like, TJ Watt has the same exact numbers. I broke this down on the podcast 2 weeks ago when they played. TJ Watt has the same exact numbers in the game. So, to me, Aaron Donald should win Defensive Player of the Year every single year. He's absolutely unreal. The best D tackle I've ever seen, and he's only 285 pounds.
It's like Pittsburgh never gets the looks in all those categories.
No, last year
TJ played out of his mind.
Last year, TJ played out of his mind. They gave it to Gilmore, but Steven Nelson had better numbers than Gilmore did last year. And Steven Nelson was never talked about being Defensive Player of the Year, let alone one of the best cornerbacks in the league. So, by all means, don't talk about any of us. They never talk about Cam. They never talk about Cam. Cam's one of the best D tackles in the league. Like I said, Watt in that. So
was Bush in the running last year for rookie?
He was a point.
What, like fourth maybe?
It's like high school superlatives,
Yeah.
Just whoever the most popular person is.
All right, so that's our breakdown for the division winners and MVP candidates for this year, finishing out the second half of the season. So enjoy the game tomorrow if you're a Steelers fan, and hopefully we get a W because Pittsburgh's always better during the week whenever the Steelers get a win. Anything else from you guys in sports this week? Nope. All right, that's been This Week in Sports.
All right, folks, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Dumb Marks podcast. Thanks to Donald and Jason for joining us again this week.
Welcome anytime.
Welcome anytime.
See you guys next week for AEW Full Gear.
Be here.
All right. Well,
Deuce and Domino will return.
Double D's.
all right, guys. As always, make sure you follow us on social media at DumbMarksPod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can also listen to our podcast on Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, and radio.com. Steve, you want to take us home?
Yeah, and this week we're recording this on Saturday, and Tuesday is the election, and we're not a political podcast and won't go into politics, but I did come across this quote from John F. Kennedy that I thought was apropos, giving it that it is the presidential election and everybody should go out and vote. So JFK once said, "Let us not seek the Republican answer or the Democratic answer, but the right answer. Let us not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let us accept our own responsibility for the future. The only way that you can affect the future is to go out and vote." So everybody, whether you're voting Republican, Democrat, or somebody in between, make sure you go out on Tuesday and cast that vote. And with that, you can catch us around the way.